There is one issue I may imagine say it has not been addressed.
Okay.
What is the issue? Imagine say ne obi the impeachment proceedings against President John Dramani Mahama. Now the biggest idea original so say yemfantu no. Ene say one yemame First Lady Lordina Mahama out to kwine on a private vacation which he is entitled. Na ye dia ban sika ene twa tickets ema yemame Lordina Mahama ekia no pe diem. Na ya gia tumu say nunti yentu omampenyi ote akonwa so. Knowing very well say in the Mahama 1 administration, in Mills Mahama administration, in former President Kufuor administration, in JJ time, media did this not even first ladies, second ladies, no mutu omo allowances. State ne bear responsibility for omo juma omo ye omo nanti omo kwanto ni activities omo ye mo office mbachoti eni yo ye mto abama omo uti asema America mani insano. Now, as same way, no, I just want to establish how trivial the whole thing orchestrated against the Chief Justice is.
Yeah.
And to imagine, say President Mahama, or no na yedi we say dinner, ebeye ne de. And I say a bet na Ghana how bu ye ni aguso. I try and trust ye ni mu say a president here no mukra ni etwa ticket di omutu kwan. And I am saying this on the basis say the Chief Justice is not an administrative officer for the executive.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary. And all judicial powers is vested in the judiciary under Article 125(3). Mamemo Homao.
Okay.
Ghana hane yedemra yewo supremacy of the constitution and a rule of law. Chief Justice BNUA Yesheno. Although the process of the appointments and removal and all that involves the president, the Judicial Council, the Council of State, between the time obe take position and then the end of term, obeja position at all on an appointee or a staff of the executive.
Yeah.
Because Ghana rapport constitution actually the authorities of states into 3.
Okay.
And the executive power under Article 58 Clause 1. Or say the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the president and shall be exercised in accordance with the provisions of this constitution. And to Omampenya Juma Sanya subject to the provisions of the constitution. So now here Article 93(2). Vested the legislative power, Article 93(2) also subject to the provisions of this constitution. The legislative power of Ghana shall vest in Parliament and shall be exercised in accordance with this constitution. And the Parliament is subject only to this constitution, not to the President. And I will call Article 125(3). The judicial authority of Ghana, or say the judicial power of Ghana shall be vested in the judiciary. Accordingly, neither the President nor Parliament nor any other organ or agency of the President or Parliament shall have or be given final judicial power. In the wisdom of the Constitution, say yebano judiciary mu interpretation final adjudication year. Chief Justice and so to say President in the judiciary. Also the 2 minutes sanity.
Yes.
On your administrative body. On or you're subject to the authority of the executive. Imagine send ne obi beko parliament do akoka say yes say the right honorable speaker of parliament honorable Abam Bagbe yes so the year to kwama parliament eto ticket man enti e ba be pam
that's what ke tunda dada okoduba ya ne yire ne cook meboa house debe ni na omo de omo ko state ne tua ni ba be 6
enti I am saying say the basis omo person omo gina so di etu maami na wo ka say omo ahyekokoa mu na omo achechire da bi NDC fo ahyekokoa mu anchechire
omo ye na mo je obi ehu
fie mi ensan ni omo ka kire ye ese omo mu no reset bebrebe na omo ka ne kire say omo mu hu no say NPP for doso wo judiciary mododo tio by NPP for they mean say under President Kufuor judges are appointed to move to the superior court and even the lower court, but my target was usually at the Supreme Court. Enti omadwin almost omoba ese so omohwehwe NDC for omo so a judge for na omo appoint na omo nkrofo nkodoso e superior court omo anka no kokua mu abonten even after omo lose election omo win abai the national chairman of the NDC oko granting interview or say Chief Justice and the oko say the easy ho no mani kire
I said
it no omo ba say omo ba be to Chief Justice and fa won say say waye papa na waye boni na wonye bibia omo kan see you President Mahama na asem giving opposition na no shia NDC for lawyer for and somehow no ankasa bebre wa bobi o show you so aba matia ka na che say oye na dwene say at all cost maame no ye be chichiro ye be same o sese etu no na godon you know the interesting thing aba ye de bo techi ye de bo ni wie ya na asoki wo kerosene mu eduru ba so a ye de bebo no
e be call twice.
So all those who are advocating for maame no, it's not for her as an individual, but we are saying say obeda sorry ochina Chief Justice now who say are you trying to say so no time will be coterminous with yours?
I said it
because on also so beko no be aba beka se nanimu kra anya ne fe enti me the petition aba yen you know Uko almost say article 146.10 Emma President Akonya say he may suspend the Chief Justice subject to investigation or mobile baby. He has the power. When the Constitution says may a discretionary power,
yes,
any the amount. So knowing how trivial the issues are, President Mahama could have chosen to say, I will not suspend the woman.
In fact, in the case of Mrs. Charlotte was saying, President Kufuado, you had not Constitution says, shall suspend and I'm one. May. Was it May or Shah? Yeah, 146 in the case of the Chief Justice no, I'm talking about their removal is all subject to article 146 because their appointment is also pursuant to qualification. So Nana Kufuado then decide they say one suspend the mameno until say assembly be die ye report to be told anymore. The Constitution is when you want to obey bia. Constitution is one ntina one tina. Ese won kwa report bas one tina one kwa one ko. E ba ese won omonko. And no. He didn't suspend her. But what dear when you suspended even ahead of receiving the petitions.
And I am telling you, say it is so sad, okay, because and this for no basis in an say, ye probia in because ye say President Akufo-Addo time near Pamo Mame Charlotte say. Yeah. Now, Bravo don't know yatna and even this particular studio analysis on this issue. Yeah. Now and Kwalano Mokasana at the time of that incident, let me say no mundi politics echi. Yeah, baby. And I'm the deputy ISIS. Omo church petition against each other.
Yes.
I can't talk ma audio babonti omo no papa mo ama omako. If you hear the audio
trading accusations, na bomo chiche free so ase be catch us or den chima we ginechi.
And even that no a call for investigation, not any rash action. Omo ankasa inside na no mo submit documents. But you have a situation.
Other to the Yoko.
So at the end of the day, no, don't come and trivialize and say because Omomuhu procurement breaches, there were other issues. I'm reporting the deputies to Yoko. There were recordings of one of the female commissioners. What can someone did that bontema is no crana no all of a sudden was a sadia yepobia yinedi. Now yepobia yinedi no so it is the head of the judiciary and yinedi because obi say mema ko before the court. I'm a panel of 5 judges. Court natch me contempt.
And
no yet intimidate petition and say yenyi ma me no kwatie. Court it was a panel of 5. And also court touch no contempt. Enti no ma me na preside enti ese yenyi ma.
Areho.
Enti asem no ase ye ka wada ye ka no samu ase nkrofo nche dante asem na se.
And I maybe saying na obi nkofa impeachment proceedings against president say because first lady and to abama
Betrem emuda ho.
And I am man to be an the Tsitkata malana. Na be who NDC small boys and girls and kwala as a military business class. Mon kwalankete ye whom on first class Moody Dallas and kwalankete Dr. Fefe wa mo more brebia. Now in any case, bra Gordon. Why na ye be appointed to the Supreme Court wa bra on meet the minimum threshold for appointment?
Oh, they say you can't cross it. So one
year lawyer. One practicing for 15 years.
Yes.
One you proving integrity be appointed to the Supreme Court. President Akufo-Addo bedi mampenyi 8 years. Da bena President Akufo-Addo saki Supreme Court. Friend say
one saki will be ada.
There be na maybe say.
There be been.
Da bena President Akufo-Addo saki obi because he did not intend and never interfered with the judiciary. If it is the case, say Musu Obi aya appointed at the time of President Akufo-Addo be a NPP judge, and the more chere say 7 now President Mahama do omabano. Modu omo reset omo ye NDC judges.
With him, I mean this close to be.
Na some look at his own constitution.
Meba, the removal of Mrs. Saloto saying, I was integral part of it because me publish a story no back to back is the front page of ABC. There's nothing about petition or more responsibility, and I can put it here. Say the president Nana Addo Akufo-Addo wasn't even in support of the petition. But there was nothing that he could do. In fact, he was at pains when the report came to him, say, Mamini should go home. He found it difficult to make it public, say, he didn't like it. But his hands were tied by the constitution. What the was shut out both triple park and one thing. Second, judiciary a group will be never to do the dean. Was it unanimous 7 at day president?
And see, at the end of the day, no, near ahumete so ne say. Obian Bisa say, is it the case? Say previous justices of the previous chief justice almost survey. Na omoni almost spouses aim to kwanya. Obian Bisa say, is this the first time my chief justice any nukunu to kwanya one? Bachotio. Case no so yen cheche mu ye nya say bia omu to kwanya multiple times. So the petition is against one trip with the husband. And another one single trip with Neba. And she is entitled to 2 private trips. Vacation. And it is set out in the your friend is saying emoluments committee in the Professor Dubuando committee. And our previous justices of the Superior Court, they were also entitled. Yeah. I'm told say even amendments no cry ama explicitly on the private vacation man for spouse anka only was because now her predecessor did not have a spouse.
No, but you see, it goes without
by
you
convention.
Say, yes.
And by practice, that was the exception, not the norm. But anybody before her, no now were entitled to this same benefit.
There be 3 arms of government.
Aye.
President and then a year in the metu kwang.
Aye.
Speaker and a year in the metu kwang. Then the 3rd I was one they were calling on
Aye.
I be okay.
It's strange. It is strange. And see, Godon, me too, no. I am make say. Also, you have the Yama authority under Article 146(10). And so you have the discretion to suspend her. But what they fail to do, they say, Constitution, no, you should impart to you reading as a whole.
Yeah.
And a Constitution, now, under its miscellaneous provisions, no. I must say, why your friend is saying, discretionary authority, no, you need to exercise such an authority in accordance with Article 296.
Okay.
And me person me read the article.
You can't use it capriciously.
Thank you. And me person me read the article 296 in Chemo, which is on the exercise of discretionary powers.
Yes.
Or say where in this constitution or in any other law, discretionary power is vested in any person or authority. That discretionary power shall be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid.
Okay.
The exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased. either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of law. And C, where the person or authority is not a judge or other judicial officer, there shall be published by constitutional instruments or statutory instruments regulations that are not inconsistent with the provisions of this constitution or other law to govern the exercise of the discretionary power. And to know who exercise discretionary power na inconsistent with Article 296 a buga number ponso. And it is my view, I say the discretionary power now President Mahama exercise, it is because Bayen Fiemi no Fiemi send wakano publicly on the NDC and penyufo national chairman any NDC communicators omote baby yeba Chief Justice President Akufo-Addo apake court no yeba resetting of the judiciary yeba EC resetting into ordinary resetting agenda ni the breach constitution no and obi ete hono na yehwenwe ha
minister what being to do honestly speaking this part of the constitution mean kinda say or discretionary powers no say constitution kwa sa the use of
how it should be used
now and then me say the constitution the car say you can't use your discretionary power based on resentment, dislike, prejudices.
Bias. You have to use it fairly,
but the question
and candidly.
A prejudice.
Yes. Personal dislike.
Yeah, publicly displayed.
Until umpenasem. Yeah, some of their supporters how do them back. Or say you be na dia you president mama no muna dia or say pamuno.
And the other dangerous thing that they are doing, and I make us say, we are moye a president.
Yes.
We na also what to na. Ochina ni awode na eba no o kwa asesa ne niam di wachina mo.
Ecoterminus.
Because obi nso so the petition beba. Obi kra petition on the ban or say who here so the evidence ba say.
Enso se yaji atum.
Who enso mo some establish a prima facie case against the CJ. On what basis?
One evidence ha.
Enti enne who can say ebre bi atwa mu who the NPP before do ya cho mo contempt. Samuel Kube can say no contempt.
Ken Crunchy